What's up, guys? In today's video we're going to talk about why chasing a number is always a bad idea. Now, more recently, some people might be starting to cut for the summer, but some people are continuing their bulk. And I absolutely hate that word, by the way. Just call it a gaining and or maintenance phase. But in today's video, I want to talk about why chasing a number is always a bad idea in both spectrums. But we're going to start with the first one. And it typically, I would say, like a huge percentage, is more often than not guys always chasing a scale weight going up. For whatever reason, a lot of guys, and I've been there myself, want to be, I want to be 200 pounds, I want to be 225, I just want to be 225 and solid, I want to be 250, and the number keeps going up and up and up and up because we find, justification, we find, a sense of well-being, a sense of power in seeing the number on a scale and being huge. Well, in reality, if we are just focused on one thing, if we are just focused on the singular thing of seeing that number on the scale, I know one thing's going to happen. We're going to get fat. Because, as we all know, especially the natural bodybuilders out there, that muscle gain happens extremely slowly. I made videos in the past about talking about my perceived rate of gain over my bodybuilding career, and it is literally a handful of pounds of muscle growth a year. I'll repeat that, a handful of pounds of muscle growth a year. So when guys are saying, oh, I want to try to gain, 2, 3, 4 pounds a month, essentially a pound a week, that is definitely not going to be all muscle. A lot of that is going to be fat, and that's just fat that you have to lose in the long run when you do in fact go to cut, when you do in fact go to compete. So chasing a number is not a good idea. And like I said, I've been there before. In particular, I was chasing, I wanted to be over 200 pounds for sure. And then when I got to 200 pounds, I was like, oh, I'm not big enough yet. I wanted to be 205. And then I did get to 205. And then I went a little bit over 205. I think the heaviest I've ever been in my adult life was 207 pounds. That was coming off of like a vacation as well. But man, and then I started a contest prep cut right after that. And boy, did I have to lose a lot of weight. And it was a lot of fat. And sure, maybe I gained a little bit of extra muscle from being able to move a little bit more weight at that heavier body weight. But that just required a ton of effort, and I probably lost a lot of muscle in the process because I was chasing that high number, that 205, that 210 mark. Let's talk about it in regards to the other way of chasing a low scale number. So some people in their heads when they go to compete, and this can be ladies and this can be guys as well, they need to see a low body weight number. Some ladies are like, I need to be under 115 if I want to compete, or guys are like, I need to be under 160 if I want to be absolutely shredded. And they just have the tunnel vision of focusing on one number, and they'll do everything that it takes to get there. I need to be X number for this show if I want to be competitive. Well, some of that may be true because obviously we need to be a certain level of leanness. That's once again not the right way of looking at it. I've seen people who are focused on that singular number in order to get to stage, and they end up coming in super small, super emaciated, and they probably should have stopped 5 or 10 pounds ago, but they failed to look at themselves in the mirror. They failed to take pictures of themselves, and maybe they don't have a coach, and maybe they're really harsh on themselves when it comes to self-evaluation. And it's tough when you're only focusing on one thing. And for my clients out there that know that I give a perspective weight week by week by week, and I tell them, although this is a great guide when I first send it to them at the beginning of their contest preps, I say it's a great guide, but it's not set in stone. Just because I say that you're going to be 120 pounds on stage for one of my favorite competitors doesn't necessarily mean that she's gonna be. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to a lot of look at the end. We may be more than 120 pounds, we may be less than 120 pounds. But you can't just focus on the singularity of chasing a number one way or the other, whether you're trying to, get muscular or whether you're trying to get shredded. Because if you only focus on one thing and you fail to look at yourself visually, then everything's blown out of proportion. And I'll finish with this is in regards to the guys, since I've been there, I've done that. When people ask me, oh man, how much do you weigh? Are you over 200 pounds? You gotta be 215. And I said, no, I'm 185 or I'm 175 or whatever it is. Because no one really knows how much you weigh. You're the only person who knows how much you weigh on the scale, and although you might get some self-gratification being like, oh man, I got over 200 pounds or I got to that 225 pound mark, what good does that really do you? Because I would rather look like I weigh over 200 pounds and weigh, 185 like I do right now, than be over 200 pounds and look like a sloppy mess. And those of you who have competed before know that as we start to drop weight, or we just have a better body composition in general, we actually look more muscular. So just remember that going forward. It's always a bad idea to chase a weight one way or the other. You end up getting fat, or you could end up potentially getting super stringy and emaciated if you're chasing a number when you're going to diet down. So always have a second pair of eyes. Don't just focus on one thing, the scale. You have to focus visually, because you guys, you got to remember that we're being evaluated visually. We're not being evaluated on what we weigh on stage, and we're definitely not being judged walking around how much we weigh on the scale as well. Just because you weigh 225, you may think that you feel powerful or whatever, but you actually may not look like you even lift weights because you're so heavy and full of fat. But that's it for today's video, guys. Don't chase weight. You gotta look off of the visual changes as well. Until next time, keep crushing it.